This course is about mechanical structure for DigiEye280. It is the first course of DigiEye280 products. In this part, it will introduce the mechanical structure of the whole system, including the name of components, the structure characteristics, design principle, and after learning this course, the engineer should understand the name and function of components and can solve simple faults. Okay, before our course, let's think about below questions. First, which parts including in the DigiEye280 and what is the function of each part? Second, how many movement directions of DigiEye280 and the range of the movement? Third, what are the balls in the generator? And last one, how to replace the courseware contains of 3 parts: the structure overview, the module structure, and the mechanical adjustment. And we will introduce these 3 parts one by one. Usually, the system divided into 4 parts. The dictator support assembly, or call it workstand. The X-ray tube support assembly, and we call it tube stand. The integrated floating patient table. Besides, in the control room, there is a workstation which provides the user. Let's see more detail. This is the tube and the collimator and the front cover assembly were fixed on the tube stand. And here, the patient table. Integrated means that the table is mounted and fixed on the floor, and floating means that the tabletop can be moved. Under the patient table is the dictate box and the movement mechanism. And at last, the generator is located under the patient table. The flow-in is about the movement. As we said before, DigiEye280 is full manual system, and it including 6 linear motion and 4 rotary motion. For linear motion, first, left to side of the tube stand. Second, up and down of the tube head. And third, left to right of the table plate, and backward to forward of the table plate. The third one, left to right of the under table dictator box, and up and down of the digital workstand dictator. For the rotary motion, first, the vertical rotation of the tube. Second, the pitching modes of the tube head. Third, rotation of the collimator. Fourth, rotation of the tube. Besides, for different movement mode, we should know the range of the motion and brake mode, including the electromagnetic and mechanical brake. The system has 2 different models, DigiEye280 and 280C. So, what is the distinguish between these 2 models? DR280 can be configured a detector and use the detector to receive the X-ray and display on the workstation. However, 280C is a high-frequency system. Detector is unnecessary. Usually, the customer uses the IP board or crystal to receive the X-ray rather than detector, and display the image on another machine, like the developer. 280 has two different layouts: the right-hand installation and the left-hand installation. Right-hand means that the workstand is located on the right side of the table, and left-hand installation means that the workstand is located on the left side of the patient table. But in the factory, the system is right-hand installation default. After transport to the customer site, it may be changed to left-hand installation depending on the actual layout and what rotation should be executed. Please refer to the next is about the clinical application. As we know, 280 is a full menu system, so it is convenient to position different patients, like chest position. Furthermore, if the patient with wheelchair, the tube stand can be rotated 180 degrees like the pictures. Make it simple and easy, convenient to the operators and the patients. The second part is module structure, mainly introduce the mechanical structure and components. We will introduce the whole system with 6 parts. The integrated floating patient table. Second, tube stand. Third, tube collimator assembly. And the work stand, the generator. The first one is the integrated floating patient table. Here, this is the tabletop. Under the tabletop, we can see the bearing, which guiding the table sled. Besides, the 4 group electromagnets installed on the floating frame to provide the brake function of the tabletop. Behind the table is the rear sliding block assembly where the tube stand can move. Let's see the table body. The detector box and the left and right slide block. In the front of the table, the front panel assembly. Further, the detector box moves on the guide rail, and it can move combined with the workstand by the tube stand connecting assembly. The connecting assembly is installed in the rear of the detector box, like the picture. There is a small wheel in the front, which connects with the tube stand and moves. Under the table top, there is the detector box. The detector box contains of the upper cover, the grid assembly, which used to fix the grid and the ionization chamber, the drawer assembly, where the detector placed, and the guide array, show how the dictator box move on the guide rail. You can see there are the two bearing wheel under the dictator box, then they can move on the dictator box use the electromagnetic. There are two slide block assembly under the tabletop, the left one and the right one, which used to make the tabletop move of forward and backward. It contains of the bearing wheel, the guide wheel, and the electromagnetic. Under the front cover, there is a foot pedal, which used to unlock the tabletop movement when pressing. So, how the foot pedal unlock the tabletop? Via the foot switch in the right corner here. When step on the pedal, the foot switch is activated, and the electromagnet under the tabletop is unlocked, so the tabletop can be moved on it. The table power box is located in the right side of the table body. It provides the power to the collimator and all the electromagnets. Here, this is the transformer. Switch the 220 volt AC to 24 volt AC to the collimator. And here, this is the switch power box. Supply 36 volt DC to the electromagnets. The power supply board provide the 24 volt DC to the button on the tube stand, and there are three relays here. It used to control the button on the tube stand, and the table power box is a FRU. So, how to replace the table power box? First, unplug all the cables on the box. Second, loose the screws and remove it. Further, remove the power box and install the new power box and connect the. Okay, the flowing structure is tube stand. First, the tube moves linearly on the stand to up and down. Second, the tube and stand movement brake are controlled by the electromagnets, and the range of the movement here, which we should be remember. The last, there is a connector assembly installed in the rear of the detector, which can connect to the tube stand. So, how the electromagnets achieve the brake function? There are two group electromagnets on the top of the tube stand, and the spindle rotates to drive the tube assembly move up and down via two steel wire loops. When the electromagnet switch on, it will pull in the turntable, and the tube assembly. As the tube stand move up and down on the tube stand, the tube is installed on the front of the pulley, while the pulley structure move on the rail by the bearing. The tube will flow in to move. Here, the central bearing, which make the automatically move linearly on the stand. The next structure is the stand base. The rotation angle of tube stand is freedom, but due to the limitation of the cable, actually the rotation angle of the tube stand is within 100 and the structure of the stand base is complex, and we just need to know how the stand rotation. When we step on the pedal, the bolt was released and the roller bearing rotation to drive the tube stand rotate. The next structure is the tube collimator assembly. Contents of the X-ray tube, the collimator, the head installation block, the front cover, and the handles. The head front cover mainly provides the indication of the rotation angle, and the head installation block mainly support the X-ray tube and the collimator and realize the rotation function. On the handles, there are two buttons which can unlock the rotation movement and up and down movement and left-right movement of the tubes. In the head installation block is a circle electromagnet. While the system power on, the electromagnet is activated and the couples will pull in the electromagnet to achieve the brake function. On the front of the head installation block, there are two tube holes, and the holes used to fix the tube. After install the tube, these two rotary screws need to be tightened. If you want to rotate the tube in pitching, you have to loose these two rotary screws, and then you can rotate the tube. And here there is a flat under the tube, and the flange is used to connect. For the front cover assembly, it is used to display the tube rotation angle value. The pointer rotates in the support X sleeve and display the rotation angle under the action of the. Another important structure is the collimator. The collimator is an outsourcing component, and the model is CX03, which is a totally manual collimator. And we can rotate the knob to control the size of the lead window directly. Of course, the knob has a physical limit of the movement. If beyond the limit, the knob may be slipped and indicated not accurate. And look at this. This is the power button of the collimator lamp. Here, the rotation locking handle. The collimator rotates when move the handle to the right side. The last is the handle to adjust the addition filter. One is 0.5 mm aluminum, and the other is 1 mm. So, how to replace the collimator? Before disassemble the collimator, Make sure the balance is locked. Just move the balance to a suitable height where we can see the screw hole and fix the balance by a long screw. This step is very important because if the balance did not fit, it will drop down after disassemble the collimator because it loses its balance. So, how to replace the collimator? First, switch off the system and disassemble the top plate and front plate of the tube stand. Third, fix the balance in the tube stand. Fourth, rotate the tube collimator 180 degrees and unplug the cables. Fifth, loosen and remove the screws on the collimator baffle switch and take down the collimator. 6. Install the new collimator. For replacing the head installation block, before the assembly, we have to make sure the balance is locked, like I said in the previous presentation. And for the replacing steps, first, also switch off the system. Second, disassemble the top plate and front plate of the tube stand. Third, fix the balance in the tube stand. Fourth, disassemble the collimator and the tube. Fifth, disassemble the head installation block. The last install. The next major component is the watch stand. Let's see the function of the watch stand. First, to support the dictator manual movement and use the mechanical braking. And the range of the movement is 350 to 1800 millimeter. And how to move the dictator box? Just rotate the handle to vertical direction and the dictator can move up and down. Here is the patient armrest is an option, and the watch stand itself is a self-balance. It means that if no external force, the stand will not fall down. And during the installation, the watch stand used for expansion bolts to fix and 2 holes for backup. On the top of the stand, it used the rope wheel and 2 steel wire ropes to drop the balance in the party assembly and make them. Besides, there are some places on the balance. It is just depend on different configuration, such as different dictator, Mario dictator, or Toshiba dictator, or the ionization chamber configured. This is the party which support the dictator movement on. As I said before, the dictator move on the watch stand manually and use the mechanical braking with a handle. When the handle locates in the horizon direction, this block will stick on the stand surface tightly to provide the breakage. While rotate the handle to vertical direction, the brake block will release and the pulley can be moved. On the top and bottom of the watch stand, there are two vehicle limit structure, the lower one and the upper one, which to limit the movement of the for safe reason. During the transportation, the workstand should be fixed by some metal fixing mechanism. First, on the top of and bottom of the workstand, there are two fixing metal separately, and the balancer is fixed by two metals. The pulley also fixed by one metal here, and behind the detector box, there also one cylinder shape. Like I said previously, the system have two different installation modes, the right side installation and the left side installation. And the right side installation is the default mode in the factory, and sometimes we need to change the installation to left side mode according to the equipment ROM. And not only change the location of the workstand, the detector box also need to change to left hand. And for more detail, please refer to the install. Let's see the structure of the detector box. On the above is the detector upper cover. Provides the silk screen to indicate the detector center and the position of the ionization chamber. Under the upper cover is the ionization chamber grid assembly, which used to install the ionization chamber in the grid. Further is the drawer assembly, used to place the detector. There are two sliding rails beyond the drawer, so the drawer can move back and forth in the detector box. And last is the detector cover, which is composed of metal plates. Support the whole detector box and connect with the wall. More detail about the ionization chamber and grid assembly. As we can see, the grid is inserted into the grid sliding rail, and the grid can be dropped out by the handle. But the ionization chamber is fixed on the rail board. Besides, we have three types of ionization chambers, but mostly the same we configured. And also we have three types of grid: 1 meter, 1.3 meter, and 1.8 meter. The next component is the generator. For DigiEye280, the generator locates under the patient table, and the type is MHV50A. M means mild rate, HV means high voltage, and 50 means 50 kilowatt. A on behalf of the generator is lie down, and of course we also have MHV50 generator, which configured in other system, and the generator is standing. The required power capacity is 75 kilowatt ampere, and the standby mode capacity is 1000 volt ampere. Inside of the generator, we can see the transformer here, the main contactor, the auxiliary contactor, the bucket interface board, and the master control board. And turn over the master control board, we can see the anode drive board, the filament drive board, high voltage control board, and the auxiliary power. The last component is the workstation, which provides the user interface and control function. It contains of the PC, the monitor, keyboard and mouse, system control board, a storage transformer, and the hand switch. The hand switch used to control the exposure, and if mileage detector is configured, the storage transformer is required, but toolbar detector is unnecessary. Inside of the system control box, only a control board, and if the control box defective, we can replace the whole system control box or only replace the control board PCBA. And on the system control box, there are some indicators. The power indicator, it becomes blue-white power on the system normally. Besides, this is the prepare indicator. It lights green when press the first grade of the hand switch. The exposure indicator is yellow. It will illuminate when press second grade of the hand switch. Furthermore, it provides the emergency stop and one key switch on off system. The button on left is switch on, and the right one. The last part is about the mechanical adjustment. Let's review the movement of the whole system. As we know, DigiEye280 is a full manual movement system. It includes of 4 rotations: the tube stand rotation, tube vertical and pitching rotation, the collimator rotation, and 6 linear movement: the tube stand movement, the tube and collimator assembly movement, the tabletop movement, and the under-table detector box movement, and the last is the detector box on the workstand. Before tighten the expansion bolt under the table, we have to check the horizon of the table by a split level, like the picture show, here and here. If the level out of the range, we have to adjust the table's level by this spacer, and you can find this spacer in the secondary. The verticality of the tube stand. Use a split level also. Check the level like the picture here. But actually, this adjustment has been performed in the factory, so the local engineer just do the double check, and this spacer also do not configure. Furtherly, adjust the 0 degree of the tube stand. Loose 4 screws under the tube stand here, then adjust the stand and make it linearly with the stand base, and then tighten the fourth one is adjust the 0 degree of the tube collimator assembly. Loose the rotary knob first and check the level by the split level. Rotate the tube according to the split level, and after the adjustment, the next adjustment is the position of the tube and collimator assembly. Loose the screws and add the spacer according to the split level, but this adjustment also performed in the factory. The local engineer not required. The last one is the verticality of the workstand. Check the stand level in laterally in the front side. like the picture show, and add the space under the workstand depends on the split level, and we can find this spacer in the